In the annals of true crime, certain names echo with a chilling resonance. Among them, one figure stands out in Russia's dark history. Her name is Irina Gaidamachuk. She is known as Russia's most notorious female serial killer. Her reign of terror left an indelible scar on the nation's psyche. The sheer brutality of her crimes earned her a moniker that would forever define her. She was dubbed Satan in a Skirt. This title, both evocative and terrifying, hinted at the unimaginable horror she unleashed. It spoke of a darkness concealed within an unassuming facade. Her story is a stark reminder that evil can lurk in the most unexpected places. It challenges our perceptions of who a monster can be. Please like and subscribe if you're new to the channel. For 8 long years, from approximately 2002 to 2010, a shadow fell across Russia. A relentless terror gripped the Sverdlovsk Oblast. Irina Gaidamachuk was the architect of this fear. She preyed exclusively on the most vulnerable members of society, elderly women. Her victims were grandmothers, neighbors, and unsuspecting souls. They were chosen for their perceived weakness and isolation. By the time her spree ended, the count was staggering. 17 murders and 1 attempted murder were attributed to her. Her crimes spanned multiple cities and towns within the region. Krasnoufimsk, Yekaterinburg, Serov, Ashit, and Druzhinino all bore witness to her atrocities. Each location became another grim marker in her escalating campaign of violence. The fear spread like a contagion across the landscape. The sheer duration of her spree, 8 years, speaks to the elusive nature of her evil. It highlights the profound challenge faced by law enforcement. For nearly a decade, an unseen predator moved through communities. She left a trail of devastation and unanswered questions in her wake. The methods employed by Irina Gaidamachuk were characterized by extreme savagery. Her attacks were not merely lethal, they were expressions of brutal force. Her victims were bludgeoned to death. The weapon of choice was typically an axe or a hammer. These were not quick, clinical killings. They were prolonged, violent assaults. The skulls of her victims were crushed. This detail alone speaks volumes about the intensity of her rage. It was a display of overwhelming, destructive power. The force used was far beyond what was necessary to end a life. She used a blunt object, striking multiple, relentless blows. Each impact was designed to inflict maximum damage. After the initial devastating attack, she would often take another chilling step. She covered her victims' heads with pillows. This act, seemingly an attempt to conceal the horror, added another layer of macabre intimacy. It was a final, disturbing gesture. The brutality of these methods initially misled investigators. Such violence was typically associated with male perpetrators. It defied the conventional understanding of female criminality. This misdirection would prove to be a significant hurdle in the investigation. Irina Gaidamachuk's modus operandi was insidious. She exploited trust and vulnerability with chilling precision. She often gained the confidence of her victims. She would pose as a social worker, a figure of authority and assistance. This deception allowed her to bypass initial suspicion. It opened the doors to her unsuspecting targets. Once inside, she would further disarm her victims. She might share tea or simply ask for a glass of water. These seemingly innocuous requests were part of her calculated approach. They established a false sense of security. She waited for the opportune moment to strike. Her attacks occurred when victims were vulnerable or had their backs turned. The element of surprise was crucial to her success. It prevented any chance of resistance or escape. After the brutal act, her motive became clear. She stole meager savings from her victims. It was always money she sought, specifically cash. She consistently left behind more valuable items like gold or jewelry. This peculiar detail was a consistent thread through her crimes. It pointed to a very specific, desperate need. Every one of her crimes shared the same chilling style and scenario. This consistency was a signature, yet it remained unreadable for years. The pattern was there, but the identity of the perpetrator remained hidden. The simplicity of her motive masked the complexity of her evil. The driving force behind Irina Gaidamachuk's horrific spree was a desperate addiction. The stolen funds were used to fuel her alcoholism. Her primary objective was to acquire money for vodka. This singular, destructive craving dictated her every move. It was a motive as mundane as it was terrifying. The lives of innocent women were sacrificed for cheap alcohol. In 3 separate instances, her crimes took an even more sinister turn. She set the victims' homes ablaze. These fires were not random acts of destruction. They were calculated attempts to destroy evidence. The flames were meant to erase her presence. They were intended to obscure the true nature of the deaths. One particular incident stands out for its chilling depravity. After one murder, she failed to find any money. Instead of leaving, she stayed overnight with the dead victim. She remained in the house, seemingly unfazed by the horror she had wrought. This act speaks to an almost unimaginable level of detachment. It reveals a profound absence of empathy or remorse. It underscores the depth of her addiction and her singular focus. The presence of a corpse was secondary to her unfulfilled need. Her motive was simple, yet its consequences were catastrophic. A craving for alcohol transformed into a thirst for blood. The specific incidents highlight her cold calculation. They reveal a killer who was both methodical and utterly ruthless. The investigation into the string of murders was plagued by significant challenges. Authorities were initially led astray by the sheer savagery of the crimes. The brutality displayed suggested a male perpetrator. The violence seemed too extreme for a woman. Investigators were baffled by the ferocity of the attacks. They struggled to comprehend a woman's involvement in such horrific acts. The prevailing assumption was that a man was responsible. This deeply ingrained bias hindered progress for years. Some even considered the possibility of a man dressed as a woman. This theory, though far-fetched, reflected their inability to reconcile the violence with a female killer. The investigation dragged on for 8 agonizing years. Despite extensive efforts, success remained elusive. The lack of a clear suspect, coupled with the misleading nature of the violence, created a prolonged stalemate. The killer continued to operate with impunity. Each new victim deepened the mystery and the frustration. The public grew increasingly fearful and desperate for answers. The initial misjudgment of the killer's gender proved to be a critical error. It allowed Irina Gaidamachuk to evade capture for nearly a decade. The case became a testament to the limitations of profiling based on preconceived notions. It highlighted the danger of underestimating the capacity for evil in anyone. The long and arduous investigation finally saw a breakthrough in 2010. It came not from forensic evidence but from a survivor. A victim managed to escape Irina Gaidamachuk's clutches. This miraculous survival provided the crucial lead authorities desperately needed. The survivor's testimony shattered the prevailing assumptions. It painted a clear picture of a female assailant. This new information redirected the entire investigation. It forced law enforcement to reconsider everything they thought they knew. The apprehension of Irina Gaidamachuk was a profound shock. The reality of the killer's identity stunned everyone involved. She was not the monstrous figure imagined by the public. She was a seemingly ordinary woman. Irina Gaidamachuk was a married mother of 2. At the time of her arrest, she was 39 years old. Her unassuming appearance belied the horrific truth. She was the Satan in a skirt they had been hunting for years. Her capture brought a wave of relief, but also disbelief. The revelation of her true nature sent shockwaves through the community. The arrest marked the end of a terrifying chapter. It brought a face to the nameless terror that had haunted Sverdlovsk Oblast. During interrogation, Irina Gaidamachuk's demeanor was chilling. She confessed to the murders with a disturbing lack of emotion. Her confession was not a moment of remorse or breakdown. It was a cold, factual recounting of her crimes. She admitted to the killings, but with a peculiar caveat. She claimed she had lost count after the 10th victim. This statement was not an expression of regret, it was a casual admission of the sheer volume of her atrocities. It suggested a mind that had become desensitized to violence. The lives she took had blurred into an indistinguishable mass. Her confession provided the missing pieces of the puzzle. It confirmed the pattern and the methods investigators had observed. Yet it offered little insight into the depths of her depravity. The why remained elusive, overshadowed by the how many. The details she provided were stark and unembellished. They painted a picture of a killer who operated with brutal efficiency. Her words confirmed the nightmare that had gripped the region. They solidified her place as one of Russia's most terrifying criminals. The confession was a testament to her cold-blooded nature. It revealed a woman utterly devoid of human compassion. Irina Gaidamachuk displayed a truly cold-blooded nature. Her actions and demeanor during interrogation confirmed this chilling trait. She was described as exceptionally brutal in her attacks. The violence she inflicted went beyond mere necessity. Yet, paradoxically, she also displayed surprising charm. She possessed an unexpected attractiveness. This duality was unsettling. It allowed her to disarm victims and deceive those around her. During questioning, she even attempted to flirt with detectives. This bizarre behavior underscored her manipulative tendencies. It was a calculated attempt to exert control. It revealed a perverse confidence in her ability to influence others. Her personality was a disturbing mix of extremes. She was capable of both charming deception and unimaginable cruelty. This complex profile made her all the more terrifying. She defied easy categorization, embodying a unique brand of evil. Her ability to compartmentalize her life was profound. She was a mother and wife, yet also a ruthless killer. The contrast between her public persona and her private atrocities was stark. It highlighted the hidden depths of her pathology. The legal proceedings against Irina Gaidamachuk culminated in a decisive outcome. She was convicted on all counts. The court found her guilty of 17 counts of murder. Each conviction represented a life brutally extinguished. She was also found guilty of 1 count of attempted murder. This charge stemmed from the victim, who miraculously survived. In June 2012, the sentence was handed down. Irina Gaidamachuk was sentenced to 20 years in prison. This was the maximum sentence allowed for a female offender in Russia. It reflected the gravity and scale of her crimes. The verdict brought a measure of closure to the victims' families. It marked the official end of her reign of terror. The legal process confirmed her guilt beyond a doubt. It solidified her place in the dark history of serial killers. Her conviction served as a stark reminder of the justice system's role. It brought accountability to an individual who had evaded it for so long. This sentence, though significant, could never truly compensate for the lives lost. It was a legal conclusion, not an emotional one. The case of Irina Gaidamachuk profoundly impacted Russian society. It highlighted the acute vulnerability of the elderly population. Her crimes exposed a chilling reality. Those who should be most protected were instead targeted. The victims' families expressed overwhelming grief and frustration. The long delay in justice had compounded their suffering. Years of uncertainty and fear had taken their toll. The pain of their loss was exacerbated by the prolonged investigation. Their voices echoed the collective anguish of a community scarred by violence. They sought answers and accountability. The case underscored the profound impact of her crimes on the community. Trust was shattered and fear lingered. Neighbors became suspicious of one another. The sense of security in homes was irrevocably damaged. This Satan in a skirt became a cautionary tale, her name synonymous with betrayal and unspeakable horror. The public grappled with the unsettling truth. A seemingly ordinary woman had committed extraordinary evil. Her legacy is one of terror and a stark warning. It reminds us that darkness can wear any face, even one that seems utterly unremarkable.